Hello everybody, I've been off buying more tat and Dealz again. What we have here is a frog. It's a motion sensing frog. But before I go on to that, I might mention that my sound probably sounds a bit different. Someone mentioned on a video, for a comment, that my sound was a bit odd, a bit funny, and I listened back to my videos and yeah, the sound was terrible. So I'm going to try and experiment a bit with different sound recording techniques over the next few videos. Right now, I'm using a Zoom handy mic, so fingers crossed it'll make it sound a bit better. Previously I was just using the microphone on the camera, and that was probably a mistake because the camera microphone's never really that good. So fingers crossed that this works out. Anyway, onto the frog. So what we have here is a motion sensing frog, and if I pull this tab out to switch it on, you'll hear what it does. It makes an obnoxious ribbit, and the way it works is when something goes in front of it, it activates. Let's put that back in because it's really obnoxious. I noticed in the branch of Dealz that I was in that someone had pulled one of these out of the bag and it was ribbiting every time someone walked past. It was working surprisingly well, because you usually find stuff like this in pawn shops or whatever. It tends to be absolute crap, but this actually was working quite kind of well. I was like, oh, that's interesting. Have they managed to actually get a passive infrared sensor or some sort of ultrasonic sensor in there? But then I was thinking, no way, because even the cheapest infrared sensors and ultrasonic sensors are expensive enough to put the price of making something like this over $149. So I was like, how did they do it? So I got one. So anyway, here we go. I'm going to dissect it a bit. Now, the control unit isn't actually glued in or screwed in. It just pops out. It's covered in some sort of a grease, like the sort of grease you would put not grease, oil that you'd put on a bicycle chain. So maybe that was an attempt at waterproofing. I don't know, but there you go. It's covered in this stuff, this nasty smelling oil. Of course, the actual frog itself is made from cheap, squishy, rubbery plastic. I'm not quite sure what that is, but it's nasty. You can see the sort of moulding marks in there. It's just, what do you expect, €1.49. So there's a nice speaker in there. Part of, what was that, 4 button cell batteries. The main circuit board. It would appear there is a chip buried under that epoxy blob, and that's what's driving the logic of this thing. A few resistors, surface mount resistors there, and a few the transistors. I'm not quite sure. That doesn't really matter. I'm more interested in how this thing is triggered. So, running off from the main logic board, so to speak, logic board in a 149 item, it goes up to the sensor here, and if I can find the pliers, here they are, and I'm going to pull this off. Oh, it's a little black tube thing, and lo and behold, the sensor is a photoresistor, which surprised me because these are cheap. But photoresistors is something I wouldn't, to be honest with you, something I wouldn't expect to use as a motion sensor. They can kind of be used as motion sensors, but no, they're not very accurate. They're a bit all over the place. No, and you can't really predict how well they're going to work. But they're cheap, and it's actually quite impressive that they've used a photoresistor for this circuit. Now, if I switch this on again, it ribbits every time you switch it on. It's just annoying. There's no power switch on this. Of course, no, you're not going to get a power switch on something so cheap, but, you know, if you were going to hack something like this, it would be nice to put a little power switch in, because it would be a relatively easy thing to do. But now, if I try to activate it with a... Oh, doesn't it look like its tongue sticking out of its mouth and it's about to catch a fly? Ooh, but anyway. It's hard to trigger it when it's out of its sensor like that, or if it's out of its hole or its mouth, if you prefer. But if I put it in there, it's a bit easier. So I actually suspect that this little black tube isn't just to hold it in place, because you notice it gets narrower as it goes in. Come on, focus camera. There we go. So if I just squeeze that back in. Ah, shut up. And I've gone and dropped it. There it is. I'm just going to force this back in. Eat the tube. Stupid frog. There we go. And turn it on again. Get ready for the ribbits. So, at first I thought there was some sort of logic on this digital logic where it would average the background light, and if there was a sudden change it would trigger something. But now I've actually played around with it a bit. I actually think the logic's a lot simpler. So if I notice that if I just put my hand in front, it doesn't trigger. I can move around. I'll go, hold on a second. If I take the hand away, it goes off. So, hand in front, nothing, hand away, trigger. So I suspect what is actually happening is, that whatever the logic is, it's probably quite a simple analog circuit that when there is a sudden drop in increase in resistance from the photoresistor, because darkness does that, it arms itself, perhaps using a flip-flop or some other sort of circuit like that, and then when the light suddenly, when the resistance suddenly decreases when the light floods in, that then again triggers another part of the circuit. So perhaps it's using the transistors or the flip-flop to control it. I'm not really going to spend that much time analysing it. What I am actually going to do, or the reason I'm doing this video, is just to say how impressed I am that they've managed to produce something so effective so cheaply, using a component you wouldn't normally assume would be used for something like this, such as a photoresistor. And actually, this is a sort of thing that it can be very easily modified and used for other things. Now, where the sound is coming from, I'm not quite sure. Like I say, it's probably, see, the green wires are coming into there, to that chip, to that epoxy chip. So I'm assuming there's a sound chip there. It's got a sample of the frog on it, and that's what's generating it. But as is always the way in stuff like this, you got a decent speaker, a couple of button cells, photoresistor. Anyone who's handy with a bit of decent electronics could probably put in a new board there, which will be triggered by the photoresistor here. So I'm very impressed. It's a piece of pawn shop tat that actually works and does what it says it would do, and it does it pretty well. And they've been very clever with the design, using a component you wouldn't expect to be used for such a thing. Yeah, I'm quite happy with this. I'm going to try and I might try and make something out of this. So there you go. Not everything they sell is crap. Bye bye.